Welcome to the second day of Quillmas. Today we're going to be doing this fun Santa Claus that we can add to any cards or decorations. You can hang these from the tree, whatever you want to do. So let's get started. I'm going to start, as we always do, with quilling strips. I'm going to have 10 of these quilling strips in total. Just going to show these 4 being stuck together, so you've just got an idea of how the rest of the project will be done. When I say that I'm gluing all the strips together, this is basically what I'm going to be doing. So I'll line it up with a small amount of glue on the end. I generally guide it with my fingers on the side. And once that's in place, I can then squeeze it until it's stuck. Although this job is quite tedious and can get quite time consuming, it is something we need to do for all the projects, and depending on the project size depends on how many of these we need. So basically pushing it together from the side so the lines up, and then once I've got them lined up I can then go in and pinch that together. I'll show you one last time, and then I'm going to be sticking the strips together. So we need 10 of these in total. It's not always easy to line up. There we go. So I need 10 of those. Now to start rolling, you can either use one of these slotted tools, basically where you put your paper in the middle of that slot, and you can twist this by hand like this until you get the full disc. Or alternatively you can use a needle where there's no actual slotted tool, and you can use any part of this needle, then more towards the end is where it gets more fine, and then as we go up to the top of the tool it gets a little bit wider, so it depends on what you prefer to use. I actually prefer to use a mechanical machine that I bought, so this is what I'll be using throughout the video, and possibly this one as well. I will be putting a link of these in my description box, so if you want to check out those, the cards that I'm going to be posting up above, and it shows me unboxing them and getting ideas and doing projects with them. So I'm going to start with the big one, basically because we've got 10 pieces of this paper. So I'm taking 10 of these paper strips in a light pink to form Santa Claus's face. I'm going to do my best to do this in one go, but it's not always easy, especially on a machine this big. But we'll see what we can do. Once we get going, it's easier to keep it on because you can hold it with your fingers as it's spinning. There we go. Now you will notice some gaps in here, and that's basically where the pieces have been glued. We can actually soften those edges if we needed to by tearing them, but for this project it's not necessary. So all I'm doing here is just making them pieces of paper come closer together, and I do that just by holding the middle, pulling this outside tight, and then rolling the rest up by hand. So each part of this project will show long strips of paper that we're going to be using to probably making more of these kind of disc shapes on this project. Putting a little bit of glue on there just to secure it in place. There's our first shape. Simple, easy, and if you want to, You can actually roll these on the top just to flatten out any edges that are on the top, and obviously decide which side looks better to you, because we can have a side that will go against the card or the actual project that we're doing. That's the start of it. So the next paper we need to do is in this fun red. Now, like I've said, I've already stuck these together. So we have 8 strips of this red. This is going to form the hat that he wears. Once that's all rolled on, you need to pinch it to pull it off. And we actually want to let some space in for this one. So all I'm doing is just taking the outer edge. This is the best way I find to actually do it. So I'm just taking the outer edge and I'm getting an idea of how wide I want this hat to be. And I've purposely done less layers, less sheets of paper in this, so it does actually go wider. Make a little bit more and then we can secure it in place. So what I'm doing now is tapping the disc, and that's basically just so it starts unrolling itself. So I'll just pick it up and drop it like this until I'm happy with the kind of gap between each of the layers. When it becomes a bit more easy to manage, and then be able to shape it into the shape that I'm actually after doing. Okay, so that's the shape that we've got. I'm going to bring the cork board in. So this is a cork board that I use. And I use this to pin down these shapes. We don't need to do anything with this one just yet. We will need to flatten the top off a little bit later. But I want to work on the hat first. So my idea is to do a triangle, but sort of offset it a bit so that the hat sort of comes this way a little bit. I'm still after it going upwards, but I want it slightly tilting to the opposite side. I'm thinking it on the right hand side rather than the left. So depending on which way you want the hat to face, depends on which way you actually form it. So first of all, what I do is check to see where the line is, where it's actually glued together, and that's going to be the bottom because it's going to be stuck to the head and it's not going to be seen. So first of all, I want to get an idea of where I want the point to go. So I want it over to one side like that. And then we need to straighten up the bottom bit as well then, to make a kind of triangle but on one side. There's no sort of rule of how to do this, it's just one of those things that you need to have a play about with to see how much give is in the paper that you've actually rolled. And then once we've got the shape that we're happy with, we're going to pin it down to the board. I'm going to start off by pinning the middle, and that just holds it in place. And then I'm going to push this side in as much as I can do, so I do get that kind of curved shape. And then I'm going to stick the pin in the top. And then I want to push one from the side so we get that curved shape going in. Fiddly to show you on camera without getting my hands in the way. Let's put this one in the corner first, and then we can push that in. Have a pin there to support it and a pin there to push that shape in at the side, and then just for good measure we'll pop one on this side as well, just to keep that bottom shape flat as well. Right, so that's the shape that I'm after. Now we need to glue it, and you can either use a paintbrush or you can use a cotton bud. Okay, we'll leave that to fully dry. So for his face, we need to try and get this flat edge, or as flat as possible. It don't have to be perfect, but still by trying to keep the roundness of this paper, of the shape. So working with the line at the top, I'm going to make myself a corner on that side. And a corner on that side, and then I'm just going to push down in the middle, just try and get that kind of elongated semicircle, if that makes sense. So just basically put a point on this side. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. We are going to be putting fur across and hair and all the rest of it, so all you're looking for at the minute is just something to glue to the other one. And now I've got a shape with that I'm happy with, I'm also going to put glue on this so it doesn't unravel. Okay, so I'm going to glue this to the hat because it's nearly dry, the hat, but we might as well glue them both together, and then we can just leave that to dry on one side then. I'm going to push them up against each other. I'm going to put a pin in there just to secure it, and I also want to put a pin on either side just to push that up, so it's putting some pressure on for that glue to stick. Right, so that's the first bit. The rest of it is basically facial features, hair, fur, all that type of stuff. So I'm going to be taking one quilling strip in white, and I'm going to make the bauble of his head, and that's basically just a tight coil, what we call a tight coil. Put glue on there and join it up. So that's for the bauble. Then we also need to make several other tight coils. I'm doing that, this is the same paper, only it's just a half strip. And this is exactly the same thing. These are going to form parts of the hair and the beard. So they're the ones that we need for like the hair and the surrounding of the hair. That's going to be the bobble. We need another one of those for his beard. When we start putting this together, it'll become more understandable of what I'm actually putting together and why. And with this project, I'm actually going to be putting it together as we go along rather than waiting towards the end, just so I can get an idea of how big the eyes need to be and the nose, and what space we've got to work with around the face. So that's one for the bobble, and we need one for the beard, and we've got some half strips here that are quilled. Just for us to start the shape of his hair. I think we're actually going to need a few more of those. So I've just done a couple extra because I know we're going to need more than this. So for now we've got 9 of the half and 3 of the full length strip. I'm just going to bring the corkboard in to see if it's set. So yeah, it's mostly set. It's still a little bit tacky, but we can work with it as it is. So I'm just going to take these pins out. Okay, so the reason why I've not actually rolled as many of these ones is because I wanted to see what size we would need to go across this. And looking at it, I think we're actually better off with the bigger ones rather than the smaller ones. I think it'll hold the head back together, hold the head together better to the hat, and I think it'll also give it more of a full look as well. So I'm going to roll some more of these, but in the meantime I'm just going to stick one of these on his hat for the bobbler. Just so I can give that time to start drying. I'm going to pop a pin in there just for holding it in place, and again with the hat I'm just going to put a pin to hold them together. I'm going to go and make some more of these. I think we need 4 in total will look good. Okay, so I've gone ahead and made a couple of extra of these, and I have also made some quarter strips of the white. So this is exactly the same strip. This is what it looks like as a full strip. This is a half strip, and this is a quarter strip. So the 3 size differences that we're going to be using. And I want to start by sticking the main bit that goes across, and we also need another one stuck to the top of his hat. This is going to be, it's not like a completely flat quilling project, it has got some depth to it. There is a bit of detail going into this. Obviously you can do it however you want to do it yourself, but this is a version that I'm going for. So I'm going to put a bead of these across. So what I'm going to do is take these 4 and I'm going to stick them all together and then put the glue on the back so that we can stick it to the Santa hat. So again, the lined edge I'm going to put on more on the inside. These are going to be stuck next to each other, but they're also going to be stuck to the hat and the face as well, so they will have some support. It's not just relying on this small amount of glue. So they're all lined up ready to go onto the hat. Next I want to work on the face, the beard and the hair. So I'm going to start off with these quarter coils. I think they may be a good size. So put in that space so we can fill that space and also give some more stability to the hat and to the face as well. So I'm going to start with those 2. Making sure that that seam is on the inside so it's not actually touching, so that's where we want the actual glue. Just push that in. And we'll do the same on the other side. Put some glue on there, and I'm just going to twist this round just to give myself an easier job of putting this one in place. And just to hold that in place so it gives it as much pressure from each side as I can. I'm just going to stick a pin in each of those. So now I'm going to start putting the beard around the bottom of his face. So again with that line on the inside, so we're not going to be seeing that. Just lining that up so it's got the face to stick to, and I'm going to just pop a pin in there just to give it some pressure to push against it. And these should be nearly dry, so they're not dry yet, but what I'm going to do is move them up the board just so they're out of my way while they finish drying off. Okay, so next to this, let's get rid of that glue. Next to this I'm going to be putting some half strips. So again we need to find that line. We want to glue it to the face and also the one next to it. So we need like a third of it covered in glue. I think it might be better for me to actually use tweezers in future. So we'll do that on the next ones. Again, I'm just going to put a pin in there just till it sticks. And then we're going to go all the way around the side of his face and up to the head with these half paper strips. Grabbing the glue, putting a decent coat all the way around because it's going to butt up in that corner there. And again, just to hold that in place, we'll pop a pin in it. And we want to do this all the way around. When we're done with this, we will flip it over and just secure it a bit more with some glue. Doesn't really matter if you're sticking it to a card, but it's going to be a while before I actually stick it to something, so I'd rather have the sturdiness. Obviously, if you are going to be doing a Christmas ornament, you may want to decorate both sides of this face, so it depends on what your use is for it. That one should hold itself without any problems, but just to be sure, I think I'm going to need some more pins. Okay, so just to make my life easier, I'm twisting this round and we're going to put the hair up this side as well. This is basically the base of it, and we are going to be building up on this. So it's not the thing that you're actually going to see, it's more to do with the structure and background, like the lower layer. Okay, that one's in nice and snug. I'm going to take some of these pins out. I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to fill in these areas with glue just to make sure that it's all held together well. You don't have to do this step if you're sticking it directly to a card straight away, then you can avoid having to put this glue on. This is for my own peace of mind that it's not going to fall apart between now and me actually using it for a project. I'll just give that a minute to dry. So for the eyes, I've got, this should be black, but for some reason the black has gone missing. So I've got a really dark brown here. This is about just over 4.5 centimetres, which is about 1/8 of a strip. Then the blue, which is 1/4 of the strip, is 8 centimetres. And then we've got the white, which is a 3/4 strip. So the 3/4 strip is just short of 30 centimetres, and then we've got a half of the pink, which is 7 centimetres. So they're your measurements for your eyes. Now a little tip and trick for something that you don't want sort of close together, so like in these, they've all got little holes. I'm going to show you how to make this so it doesn't have the hole. We need to do this by hand, we can't use a tool because, well, the only tool that I would use if you wanted to is a pin, and then you'll get a pin sized hole rather than a larger hole. So to start off, do this whilst it's dry, just run it over just to help it start curling, and that'll just help you when you first start off. Then we want to get a little bit of water, not drenched, on our finger, and just run that across, concentrating more on the end than the beginning of it. Then wipe the excess off, get your glue. I like putting a little bit of glue on my finger, and this helps just when you first form this shape. So you want it so it's just tacky, but what this does is it allows this bending. It's going to be pretty difficult to see because it's in my fingers. If you feel it getting a bit too sticky, just get a little bit of extra water. Started to turn now. And what I do is, whilst it's in my fingers, instead of taking it out and losing where my thread is up, where my paper is in my fingers, I twist the paper round, roll it that way, and twist the paper again and roll it backwards, and then that way you don't have to actually take your hands off the disc so it doesn't come unravelled. Obviously the glue actually helps right at the beginning of this, but this paper now is dry and we're just forming the disc shape. Once you get it to a certain size, then you can start winding it as normal. The other way you could do it is hold it in one hand and feed it through around your fingers that way. I just find it easier to roll it backwards and forwards in between my fingers until I get to a size where I can actually grab hold of it and start turning it itself. What this also does is when you do it this way, it helps you keep it flat so that it's not raising up in the middle, because you're actually going across the front and the back at all times, so you can push it all into place. Now once we've got onto the white bit, we want it to be a little bit more loose, because what we're going to do is turn this into a sort of oval shape to make the eyes look a bit more interesting. So it is now moved on to the pink bit. Okay, once that's all together, you can put a blob of glue to secure it. Give that a few minutes to dry, and then we'll push it into an oval shape. Okay, that's had a little bit of time to dry, and we're now gonna, when you do these ovals, if you was to put that glued edge at the bottom and squeeze it, then you'd end up with like a spike or a corner rather than an actual rounded thing. So this needs to go on the inside, so the part where you're actually squashing it from. And you just want to put light pressure just to turn it into an eye. And we need 2 of them. Two eyes. So now we need to make a nose. And with the nose, I'm going to be rolling this using the pin. So with the pin method, I put it right at the tip there, and I put a little, really small amount of glue, just so it catches it as you turn it there, and on the back of it as well. And once you've got it all lined up, we'll start turning. And once it's started rolling, take the pin out, hold it so it goes, you don't lose it, and then exactly the same as earlier, I like rolling it between my fingers and twisting it as I go. I find this flattens it out better, and it also allows you to keep hold of it rather than letting go of it and losing the disc shape. Now you'll notice I've gone a slightly different colour for the nose. I thought it'd be nice to have a difference in pinks, and obviously his nose will be pretty cold because he's out delivering presents to all you good boys and girls. And I've got to about 3/4 of the strip, and I think that's enough for us to do the nose. So it's 3/4 of a strip for his nose. And I'm going to put a bit of glue on there, get that secured, and we can start building the face very soon. Make this stick out a little bit rather than it being completely flat. I'm going to see how that looks on his face. So it's slightly domed. Yeah, I think that'll, yeah, we'll go with that. So just to make sure that this doesn't lose its shape, we need to fill it with glue and leave it one side to dry before we stick it on. Let's get the position of these put on the hat. I think that'll look quite good there. Yep, let's go with that. So I'm turning it over, and I'm going to put a layer of glue. I'm going to put it all over it, and then if there's any that's not actually sealed, it'll all be stuck, and it'll also keep its shape a lot better if it gets knocked, or if you're storing it until you make any cards, etc. Okay, I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we'll come back and do the nose and the eyes in a bit. So I want to try and get these eyes and the nose put in place, and I've come up with some ideas for a mouth, but I'm not 100% certain which one I want to go for just yet. So we've got Santa, we've got eyes, I don't know what it is about these kind of projects, or whenever I do anything like cartoonish or 2D or anything like that, I always like the eyes right next to each other. I did the same with the reindeer in my last video. If you've not seen that one, go and check it out. I made this one on the previous project. So that's the reindeer that I did, and I do like it when their eyes are close together like that. So I'm going to stick them down in that area. And there is something that I noticed as I was putting these eyes on, that the beard in the middle isn't quite centre. So I'm going to have to work with that a little bit and sort of place the eyes. Most of this face will be covered with the quilling for the beard and the moustache. So I'm just going to place them sort of, they're not centre, but they will make sense with the beard when it comes to sticking the rest of it on. Right, let's get some glue on these eyes and get them placed. So I find when you wanting to place something, if you leave the other one where it is, whilst you stick the other one, you've still got a guide then of where you want to actually put it. I'll try and place this without putting glue all over, because this is the outside view of the eyes. So obviously the centre hole is sort of over to the left. That's basically because I want this sort of lined up. Right, for the nose, on the inside you'll find that it's hollow. There isn't a lot to actually stick to, so I'm going to put quite a bit of glue on the inside so that it actually grabs from there as well. So not just on the edge. I'm just going to go slightly inside as well, and then when the glue sort of drips down, that'll just secure it in place a little bit better. Now let's give him a nose. And once that's in place, I'm just going to leave it completely alone until it's fully dry. Right, for the mouth, I come up with a couple of different thoughts and different ideas. I wanted to do a mouth where it looks like he's doing the ho ho ho, but when I put the circle on, it just didn't look quite right, so that's one option. And I also did it in red, but more of an oval shape. So there is that option. That option, which is what I think I'm going to go for. The only thing is, it looks like he's a bit shocked, but I think once we got the beard and moustache in the right place, I think that'll look okay. We might be best putting the moustache in first so we can see what we've got. Now, when people ask me, what do you do in your spare time? I'm going to show you. These are what I made earlier. So yeah, these are strips of, I've got some that are 5mm and some that are 1mm. Sorry, I've got some that is I've got some that are a 3mm and some that are a 1mm. Because I knew I was going to have some projects like this coming up. So I think we're looking, if I can get hold of one, I'm thinking of that size. So it doesn't go higher than the nose, and I think it's got enough there when we put the mouth on as well. We'll be able to get a moustache between the nose and the mouth. Now, looking at this, yes, his mouth's right at the bottom of his chin, but the idea is that we're just showing the pink where it's going to be seen, because the rest of it is hair. When we come to look at it, we just presume that's where his face still is. It's underneath all this hair. So I'm going to go for that one, but I think I should get the moustache sort of put in place and then put the mouth on, and then we can start building it up for the moustache and the beard, so it's coming together. Right, let's get that one glued in. And I push right up to the nose. Now, how are we going to put glue on this? We're not actually putting the glue onto that. What I'm going to do is find something that I can actually put glue onto. We're going to thin it out. This is just a box with all the little offcuts that I do on the projects. I'm just going to put a small amount on like that. Is that big enough? Yep. And we're going to get hold of the shape and we're going to push it on like that. And then that way we're not getting glue all over, and we're knowing that we've got a full coverage. On the mouth. Right, let's put that in place. This will just wipe off when it's dry. So I want to push it up a little bit because I want it to look like he's smiling, not, or sort of smiling. And don't be afraid to use pins at this stage. I'm quite happy with that where it is now, but you could always push that through because you'll still get it in the right place then. So just while that's drying, I'm just going to roll that in place. So at the moment in this box, they're all mixed up different sizes, and the reason why I've sort of done quite a lot of these is so I can use them for snow on cards that I'm going to be making for Christmas. And I just put them all in the same tub, and obviously they're now all mixed up in different sizes, so I've pulled out these ones which are, they're a 3, so they're 3mm, and I think these thinner ones were at a 1mm. I will check it. Yeah, 1mm. So I'm going to start sticking the moustaches on. And then underneath I want to go a little bit wider. So I'm taking the 3mm strips, but they are a bit wider, and my idea is to build this beard up. So we've got the outer leg, got the outer side shape, and then we're going to have smaller ones on the actual face. I'm going to sort through these and put them in a pile because I just need to pick up and put down. So I've gone away and I've split all of these into separate boxes. So we've got the very thin ones, they've actually got 2 different sizes which I'm not likely to use on this project, but I've got them to one side. But I've got the 3mm wider strips and the 3mm thinner strips, all ready to put on where we feel like they're suitable. Next time I will organise them whilst I'm doing them, and I don't have to mess about putting them together. Right, let's get these stuck on. I've got my glue, got my tweezers, and I'm thinking of filling this space in with the bigger ones, put as many as I can going up to make this a bit thicker, and then fill in any spaces around here, and you know, to make the face covered as much as possible. Then I also want to put in this area rosy cheeks. So actually I'm going to put that in now so I know what room we've got. So I'm going to go and see what colour would suit that. So these are the colours that I've got in 3mm. I haven't got that great of a selection of the pinks and reds, to be honest. They're sort of like tend to be for flowers, and obviously the flowers are these kind of colours. That's not what I'm after though. So I can either go for something like the hat, which I don't really want to because it'll then not look right, and I can't go for the same colour as his nose or his face because that's his nose and face. So the only one I can see that might work, it's a bit bright, but I think this. No, I'd prefer it in a thinner strip, but because the nose is domed outwards, I think it'll work. So I'm going to take that one. So I've got one strip. Obviously this is going to be too long. I think we're only going to use probably about a quarter of this strip, if that. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half and half again. But what I'll do is start rolling it first, and then I'll stop when it seems right. So I want this not to have the hole in the middle, or a very thin hole in the middle, so I'm just going to go and curl it a little bit, and then I'm going to do my water and glue method as I shown you earlier. I think that should be the right size. I'm just not sure about the colour. Actually, it looks okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Right, make another one then. And there's our second cheek. Right, let's get them stuck on. I always find having the needle and tweezers helpful together. One so you can hold it in place, and then the needle just to push it down. Saves your fingers getting in the way. And if you've got any excess glue, you can always just wipe that up with the needle. So, if you don't like the look of that glue. And there, right, there's his rosy cheeks. Let's get on with some beard. I thought rather than keep on putting a small amount on each one, if I put some on the plastic lid and then dip them in, it should make the process that bit quicker and easier to get them all stuck down. So I want something to smear that. All I've got is this ruler. I'm not after, like, you know, when you're doing card making and things like that, you need to have quite a thin, fine layer. I'm not that fussed about having that fine layer. I just want it to be easier for me to dip it and stick rather than keep putting the glue on in separate ones. Rather than wasting that glue, I'm going to get some of these and I'm going to stick on. I'm not sure how many we're going to be able to fit in here. Even these small ones might still be a little bit big for above that eye. So I've just made these two off camera because they're quite fiddly to do, and I find it easier when it's actually close up towards me. I'm just going to stick those where his moustache is. And same with this one. Just make sure you're always clean off your, actually I prefer the other side. Just always make sure you clean off your tweezers when you've finished doing any of these projects, otherwise you end up with bits of glue all over it, and when you come to use them for something you don't want gluing up, it becomes a problem. And my projects are nothing without a bit of sparkle, so I'm going to put some sparkle on there. I'm thinking maybe a diamante on each of these. You don't have to, but I think it'll just look cute for when I actually put them on the cards. Now, do I use the big diamantes or the small diamantes? I actually think the bigger ones would look better in this case. These are just pre-stick diamantes that I bought from the local craft store. Yeah, we'll go through it. Yeah, I think I might put the sparkle in the eye. I just hope it's not too much sparkle now. Let me know in the comments what you think. Whether sparkle should happen on everything or if there's a time and a place for it. I don't think you can get too much sparkle, but that's my opinion. Right, Father Christmas. Just flip this over and make sure everything's stuck together. Like I said, this is going to be the bit that's stuck down to the back of the card. Or obviously if you want to use this as a tree decoration, basically put this decoration on the other side, and then as you hang it from the tree you've got both sides. You just need to fill this in. So there you go. That's the second day of Quilmas done. Right, so stick around. If the third day of Quilmas is uploaded, I will put a link to that up here at the top of the screen. And if not, make sure you set that notification bell so that when the third day of Quilmas comes on, you're one of the first people to see it. I generally run my projects as premieres, so come and say hello in the chat and meet with other creators. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye! She says. Can I have a fight with paper? There we go. I thought rather than... Oops, just knocked everything off my desk. It's not all the hair is quirly, curly, quirly, quilly. Come around, you can either see if the third day of Christmas, you can either see that the